Welcome back to another episode of Aboutcast. We're doing that anime thing one more time now with this new episode, episode 8 of Attack on Titan, the final season, with the episode title being Assassin's Bullet. Of course, I have my main man in crime talking about that anime goodness. Chris, how's it going, bro?
Good, dude. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. It's good to win one. I think that the thing out of this episode that I really took away from, or like kind of gave myself a pat on the back with, or us, is kind of a big call, a shot call that we made that ended up being true. But with all things in time, we'll be talking about exactly what that big turn of events was in this episode. So anyway, being that this was probably, we were talking about this off the podcast for a second, but this was kind of a change of pace. Was this something that you were kind of like looking forward to or surprised of, or, you know, did it kind of just flow with the cadence of the season and how it's been going so far, in your opinion?
Yeah, I wasn't super surprised. But I'm not saying that I wasn't expecting anything either. I didn't really know what to expect. I really thought that there was going to be a longer fight between Eren and Reiner. I think that was the only expectation that I had. I just thought it was going to be a long, drawn out fight, and it turned out not to be. And yeah, it was a lot slower pace, which was kind of nice in a way. We got a lot of information out of it, and so yeah, that's basically all that I got out of it as far as like expectations and things like that. What about you?
You know, now that you mention it, I think that's probably that it was actually a necessity to make it slower paced, and all of it had to do with the cap on the Reiner and Aaron fight. So essentially, none of this stuff could kind of go on, or like the main happenings of the episode, if that wasn't taken care of quick. And there's because there is a lot of interesting context that we get, but it all kind of has to happen once Aaron gets up to that blimp. So it does kind of suck that Reiner was kind of like a hit once and had a glass jaw, but it does pretty much make sense, being that after thinking about it, his Titan form was new, and so was his like will to live, and it looked a lot more human. And so that might be an instance of, yeah, this homie was just really out of the game. But one thing that I thought was cool was that I think, he lives long enough to like save Poke, which is actually super interesting. And I think probably a nod to Marcel, since Marcel saved his life. Did you catch that?
Did I catch him saving him, or just catch that I guess what you were saying about Marcel and stuff like that?
Well, yeah. So I'm essentially just bouncing it back just so,
Mm.
does that make sense, or am I
Oh
just
yeah.
reaching here?
No,
Hmm.
no, no. It totally makes sense, and it goes with Reiner's character too. Just looking back at past seasons and looking back at the past episodes, actually, where they flashed back and they kind of showed Reiner as the leader after Marcel died, and him just assuming that role. So it totally
Hmm.
makes sense that he would save him in that situation, and it's also kind of like a why not situation as well. If you're able to save, anything that you possibly can at this point, especially if you're Marley. You're kind of grasping at anything that you can to kind of regroup and get things back together.
Yeah. Yeah. And even more so in an individual scope, I guess it really was a why not for Reiner, because, he didn't want to live anymore, essentially. And him turning into a Titan, either he was going to get killed, or, he wasn't, and he could save Marcel. I guess the loss is, delaying the time that, he could possibly be done with living and kind of,
Mhm.
over it all. But yeah, I think it'll be huge knowing that they've kind of recovered at least one of the most important Titans that unlocks another Titan too. But who knows, man? I mean, with the new Warhammer power that Aaron has, who knows if cracking open those crystals are going to be a little bit easier
Mhm.
than before, even without the Jaw Titan. But for sure, one thing that I think is a huge win, and hopefully we could see that interplaying in the rest of the 8 episodes. Now that we're halfway through, bro, which is crazy. I just realized that I feel like we have so much information and had so much action in this. I hope they don't do like the season 3 like pause during and like go to
Oh,
the second one. Hopefully I didn't jinx that, but it's so crazy to think that there's 8 more episodes of, just double up what we just had or just run it back again.
Mhm. Dude, that makes me sad, but also excited
Hmm.
at the same time because I also did not realize that until you said it. And at first, I was like, "Ah, like we only have 8 more, really?" But then at the same time, like I thought again, and I was like, "Oh, no, there's 8, like 8 more." You know how much we've got out of 8 episodes so far? So there's gonna be a lot that we're gonna. It's just gonna be a huge treat, man. Like the final 8 episodes are just gonna be amazing. I do have
Yeah,
a question for you though.
hit it.
So is the reason why Aaron couldn't kill Reiner is because he was laying on his back? Is that
I
why? Like I didn't fully understand the reason why he couldn't kill him.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I think that honestly, if I'm thinking like realistically, because this is the only thing that I could think making sense is that Aaron's just kind of like out of gas
Mm,
because
okay.
the dude was, he had extreme stamina, transforming 3 times and being a titan longer than anybody on the battlefield, and being like attacked and having to heal and all that stuff multiple times. So I'm thinking that it is just like he's just tapped out, and he knows just by the look of Reiner that it would just kind of end in kind of like a catastrophe, or just kind
Mhm.
of the presence of Reiner, even though he was weak, was good enough, or like a big enough deterrent to just say, you know what, dude, I've came here, I've gotten, specific things, and let's not get greedy.
Yeah,
That's what
that
I'm
makes sense.
thinking.
That totally makes sense. And I totally forgot about him changing into Titan 3 different times and all that other stuff. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Because there's always kind of like sly little implicit bits of evidence and information that we can get from kind of like other sources, but that's as far as I can tell. Like thinking of kind of contextually what was going on and why that would be
Mhm.
said. Also, it's like kind of a time thing too, because perfect segue actually at this point, you know, Paradis is on their way on this blimp and ready to head out. So there's obviously kind of a last call. Even in the last episode, it was like Hanj was saying, even though Aaron's kind of the showstopper and why they were there, um, she said that, if they leave stragglers behind, that's just what happens, because they have like kind of a tight window to get through, because obviously Marley has armaments that could easily take out a blimp, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know because in the episode, I think I don't know if it was Aaron or someone. They were saying that they didn't have anything to take out a blimp, but yeah, I'm not
Well, I
sure.
mean, maybe now because of maybe because of the Navy is taken out, which have
Yeah, they took out the
big,
fleet. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm. So I mean, maybe it's just another thing too. It's, I wouldn't imagine wanting to hang out over the capital or the country that I just attacked in the air with
Yeah.
something as defenseless as a blimp, for much, for a lot of time, especially with the cargo that they have.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That all makes sense. Like the time thing and them not having a fleet and all that good stuff.
Hmm. So, dude, I mean, here we are. The group escapes on the blimp, and essentially what we have is, I think I think we even assumed this, man, that this was kind of the first time that the scouts are seeing Eren, in a sense, like they were kind of had their arm twisted. Like, there's 2 bits of information that we find here. One is that Levi is very happy to see Eren and kicks him in the face, which is just, Levi's special way of saying like, hey, man, it's been a long time, especially to Eren. And 2, it means that like there's so much information in that, dude. When you saw that scene, what was like the flood of like, oh snap, so this must mean this, and going through like cascading information from that one scene, if you had it, that is.
Yeah. I'm gonna backtrack to when Aaron and Armin first, like when Armin helped Aaron up on the blimp just for a
Ah.
sec.
Hmm.
Just because like I feel like there was something in that scene because it seemed like there was just some weird emotion in Armin's face when he saw Eren. Like, I feel like there was
Really good
something.
call.
Yeah, like I just feel like there was something going on there where Armin was just, I don't know. It just seemed like he wasn't super happy to see Eren. And
Yeah.
same with Eren. Like Eren hasn't really had any emotion until kind of the end of this episode. But the same thing, like he didn't have any emotion on his face, but it just seemed like Armin was like so sad about something or upset. I don't know what like exactly what that emotion was, but I do feel like there's something in that interaction. But
That is a
anyways,
good pickup.
oh yeah, go ahead. Do you have anything
Yeah,
else to add?
just a quick note on that. I think that yeah, definitely maybe that's also supporting evidence of them not seeing each other for a while.
Hmm.
And two, you can't but help feel like the thing that Armin did, which is so kind of against his will as far as, not wanting to kill innocent people, was kind of forced upon him by needing to protect Eren and the rest of the scouts from, because if it wasn't for that, there's no way that anything would have gone on outside of them getting destroyed by that naval armament.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so maybe that's a case too. It's just kind of like, yeah, implicitly heavy. And it's interesting that they focused in on them like grabbing each other's hands as
Hmm.
Armin helped Eren into the blimp. But yeah, really good call. But anyway, finish the point.
Yeah. So going to that interaction between Levi and Aaron, I thought it was like it was super funny because like he kicked Aaron in the face and he says, "This brings back memories, Aaron. You have such a kickable face." And that's a just a callback
Hmm.
to when Levi just kicked the crap out of Aaron to like prove that they could
Like
uh
keep him in line.
yeah, from the first season. So I thought that
Hmm.
was really super funny. Just wanted to add that. But yeah, that interaction does kind of tell me a couple things. It tells me that yes, they haven't seen each other in a really long time, but also kind of like what we were saying is just the scouts and the rest of the people from Paradis kind of seem like they don't really like Aaron very much right now. And kind of like I was saying in past pods that there's just some type of rift between the between the scouts and Aaron. Did you pick anything else up?
Those were definitely the main points in the whole kind of just the moment itself. As far as there's obviously this tension and the level of closeness that they had, where we left off when they were all together last, which was season 3. Obviously isn't the case anymore, and it might be just because of, obviously there's been a lot of things that have happened, which I'm looking or hoping that we address or they address so we can go over. But yeah, it's definitely not, it's not the same crew that we left off with that had kind of a unified front and wanted to, go after this thing alone or like together. But Aaron has always been one of those, weird kind of like, it didn't matter if it would have like you compromised the mission. So you know what, like here's a perfect example. I think Aaron would be a horrible Irwin. So in
Hmm.
the fact of like, how Irwin was like his whole dream was to see what was in that basement and to kind of try to understand the world better. And he sacrificed that dream and like kind of lived, decided to have an ignominious fate, being that he led all of those guys to their death. Like Aaron would have 100% with his type of conviction to that would have been like, fuck, or no, there's no way. Um, I'm finding out what was in that basement, which is
No
like,
matter the cost.
yeah. And so this
Yeah.
is the exact scenario of that now, but
Mhm.
the basement happens to be revenge.
Yeah. Man, there's so much going on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. And also kind of talking about, morals and kind of philosophies and stuff. We also have a conversation with Gabby and Falco that's on the ground in Marley. And of course, we left off with Gabby being incensed with rage and revenge against Aaron. And I really enjoy this conversation in the sense of there's so much that Falco has, like as far as information wise on Gabby. And then, of course, their personalities are different. But I think it's like here's this great rift of the lack of ability to kind of transplant memories and thoughts and ideas into Gabby's head. And who knows if she would have accepted them, but there's obviously like a rift between communication there, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like kind of like you said, Falco has seen and heard so much more than Gabby, so Gabby just doesn't understand. But
Hmm.
also at the same time, like I can see where Gabby's coming from as well, just because we've seen it before through Eren and when Reiner and Berthold and all those guys came and destroyed their town. Like I kind of understand where I guess where she's coming from. Like, does that kind of make sense?
So you're saying like when she says, "Did you see them destroy, Paradis, and did you see the reason why they're giving us, acting on revenge right now?" Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but also I wanted to make that to touch on that point because even if you don't see it, like why does it just not happen in your eyes? Like that just doesn't
Yeah.
quite make sense to me.
Yeah, so I think this is actually kind of the crux of being 14 and in war. Uh, Granted, I've been 14, but I haven't been in war. But I think that this is kind of one of the bigger, we talked about, I hope, and I also hope you did your kind of homework on this. But I'm happy to defer it till later. But
Uh-oh.
the overall themes of this season
Mm,
and kind of episodes, and one of them is like, how high of a cost are you willing to go for revenge? And
mm,
we see this in Eren and we see this in Gabby and kind of and of course, I think, one of the salient faces in this has been somebody who's been included in every single episode and kind of has a lot of face time, more so than Eren, I think, in total. But Falco is kind of the one person that is willing to kind of, you know, willing to understand the sum, like, the sum of the revenge might be a higher cost than you know, than the thing that happened to want to take the revenge. And, I think that that's the kind of the true fault between Gabby and Falco, which I think they're so similar, but Falco is just less selfish and it comes out as being kind of, an overall scheme of life. He's more thoughtful. So,
mm,
he's obviously super talented and things of that nature because he wouldn't be in the warrior candidate program. But he's also, you know, less selfish in the way of like thinking of other ideas or things of that nature and wanting to be helpful even if it is at the demise of Gabby. But that's I really, I found that little segment like rich and showing who these people really are and what exactly are the rift between them.
mm.
Is there anything that you could add between the difference between Gabby and Falco, or do you think that's kind of a huge a huge part of it or aspect is how incensed or like kind of consumed they are with their own ideas or selfish?
No, there's not really much else to add. Just, yeah, I guess it just kind of boils down to what they've experienced so far as well. I think Gabby, like I kind of said, Gabby's had a lot different experience than Falco, but at the same time, they experienced the same situation that happened. But yeah, it's just kind of, I guess, to the eyes of the beholder, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to bring up too is uh, I don't know if you see this, but and I'm not even sure if it's kind of like a meaningful point, but I think that I couldn't help but juxtapose Falco and Reiner and then Gabby and Aaron in
Mm,
the same way as far as like the way that they're driven is Falco is driven like almost like by a very small finite amount. So just like Reiner was driven to kind of be the armor titan to reunite his family, which is two people. Falco is here, kind of like a big for him is like Gabby and helping others, but mainly we've seen Gabby kind of be the focal point when he's actually performing really well. And then when you look at the other side, it's like Aaron just wants mass destruction of these people, and Gabby wants like mass credit to her people. So it's like, and maybe I'm grasping at straws, and please tell me if I am, but it's like, you see these people driven by really small, like, small impact things as far as, the family, like, to the family of Reiners or Gabby. And then it's like, but then these two people that are incensed and just don't care at all are thinking like just huge scale when it
Mhm.
comes to like the things that drive them.
Yeah, I don't think you're grasping at straws at all, dude. Uh, I I've been thinking about this a lot, like kind of like you were saying about juxtaposing the characters and all that stuff. I
Hmm.
was having a really hard time trying to figure out who Falco kind of compares to, and what you just said makes so much sense with him and Reiner and their motivations and things like that. Um, Gabby and Eren are totally kind of the same character. Like they've gone through basically the same thing as far as the Titans attacking. Like they've both had Titans attack family and friends and things of that nature. So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and of course there's like, there's more complexity to these characters, but that's one thing that you find that also kind of relates to another aspect of them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But leading on, we also have that we all, sorry. But essentially Gabby and Falco get onto the blimp by killing Lobov, and so essentially they hop on. Falco grabs on last second, and then one of the saddest things that happen because the franchise loses almost a certified snack, and I mean it with I say that with fully, like, the biggest pun intended at all, because this person loved to snack the most. But Gabby shoots down Sasha, shoots her in the chest. And another thing that I want to highlight too is like, check out Falco. Like, Gabby was also lined up on Jean, and he, tackled her last second to save him. So it's incredible to see kind of, this homie's self restraint, and even thinking like we're 100% dead, but just being exposed to the ideas of that conversation with Eren and Reiner, and I'm sure his personality saved Jean's life for sure in that
Oh yeah,
aspect.
yeah. It's it was funny watching that. Like I was like, oh wow, he literally just saved Jean's life. Like what's I? It's kind of like what's the motivation behind it, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah. There's no like, there's no reason that he would, other than like maybe, but I'm not even sure he's concerned with his own life at this point, because he wouldn't have
Mhm.
hopped on there if he was. But there's, yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of like baffled. Because any other character, number one, they would have never grabbed onto Gabby to get into that position. But if they did, that shot would have for sure um, punched a hole into him.
Yeah.
But
They,
yeah, super sad with Sasha too. But sorry, you were
uh,
gonna say something.
no, I was yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is yeah, it was super sad watching that happen, especially seeing that scene kind of previously. There was an interaction between Connie, Jean, and Sasha, and Connie was just saying like, "I'm really glad you guys survived because you guys are super special to me." And when I saw that, I was just thinking, someone's gonna
No.
die. Like
Yeah.
one of those three is gonna die, and I was like, please don't let it be Sasha.
Yeah, man. Honestly, dude, I don't even I hate even thinking about it, but then if it wasn't to be Sasha, who would you choose for, who's catching the bullet?
Honestly, it'd probably be Connie, just
Yeah, dude.
because he hasn't really shown much, I guess, like in previous seasons and kind of in this season too. So I just feel like he'd be the easiest target as far
Yeah,
as like
dog.
people to kill off and like importance and things of that nature. But at the same time, I feel like it wouldn't hit as hard either, just for
Well, he
his
had the
importance.
armor on
And
too.
oh yeah, he did. I forgot about that.
She was the only one without it. So it's like,
Hmm.
what a, yeah, it was almost like they kind of called her out. But yeah, dude, I agree, man. Like, Connie's whole claim to fame for a big giant chunk of the Attack on Titan universe was he sucked, and then his mom was a Titan. I know it sounds
Not much
bad,
going
but
for you,
like,
Connie.
yeah, yeah, honestly. But that homie's obviously like a G, and I'm sure he's, grown and killing
Mhm.
it. But yeah, they haven't shown him to be particularly badass as of yet. But I'm looking forward to the day that he shines and turns it up for the fallen
Mhm.
homies.
Yeah,
But
I'm hoping to see something like that.
yeah, man. But anyway, so we have one of the, and it sounds crazy to say after the death of somebody that we've seen from the very like season one of this series, that there's something even bigger that happened this episode. And here is the time when we talk about the giant pat on the back that we can give ourselves at Aboutcast, and you guys can give us collectively as well. But did we or did we not call that Zeke was a double, possibly a quadruple agent, if you hear me out?
Dude, it's insane. I don't understand what's going on, honestly. But yes,
Hmm.
that's a huge pat on our backs. Like, it was super suspicious how Zeke, quote unquote, died last episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, good call, my man. Good call.
Dude, well, number one, I think it was probably like a group shot for sure. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's multiple things that I think were kind of fishy about this. And I was like rewatching some episodes to kind of get a better feel for it, but it doesn't all at all kind of make sense. So of course, this part makes sense in the long run of things. So Zeke was actually the guy that recommended that they go back over to Marley. And it's like, if they actually figured that stuff out, if they got to that point, then it would have been a wrap. But also, Zeke was also the guy that also mentioned that the Warhammer would need to get involved too. So it's like, dude, this dude was thinking master strats. If all of this was like calculated, then he knew that to get the Warhammer out, that he would need to then kind of like incite possibly going to war. But the thing is like, if Eren could beat the Warhammer, what was like kind of the issue? Like he could have just escaped with his like homies and been had it done. But my all right, so I have a couple questions for you, Chris. One, well, the first question was why did Zeke cross over, which I feel like is kind of an easy one if you follow the context of the episode. But also, I found it so interesting that he was crazy enough to recruit people, and also even in the face of Levi wanting to kill him, he was still willing to pair up with Paradis. But I want to hear that answer, or the answer to the question of why do you think he crossed over?
Hmm. Huh. I guess I didn't follow the context of the episode very well because I'm not really sure, except for him wanting like all Eldians to be free.
Well, that's
Uh,
it, dude. Yeah. Like
oh,
that was
okay.
the
I thought there was
yeah.
more.
Nah, bro. Well, it's but I don't understand. Okay, so the question is like why did he do it that way though? That's the heavy question, right?
Hmm.
Like why get the Warhammer involved? Why like do all these things? Why certifiably make World War happen against Paradis for the things that they did? It's there's I mean, of course you have to add in the kind of the ingredient or the variable of Eren being kind of batshit crazy at this point. Kind of flying off the handle. I'm sure it wouldn't have been the same if he was kind of more cool, calm, and collected, but they were obviously working together. We had the scene with the baseball glove, which Eren then got the baseball glove from Zeke, which we can now say because it was actually part of the manga, but not a part of the actual Attack on Titan episodes. So they were obviously going back and forth, but if you had to like kind of build up a case or understanding of the world of what happened and why, as of now, what do you think you'd come up with?
Moving forward,
No,
or
as far as like why, why
oh, why
Warhammer?
every
Why get the Warhammer involved? Why, a whole bunch of stuff.
man? Yeah, that's a loaded question. Uh, I think they need Warhammer to do. It has to do with something that with Annie's uh, crystal encasing, I guess. Also, I don't know. Like, I am stumped by this question right now, just
Bro,
because
I don't take it easy on you.
thanks, man. I appreciate you. I still feel like we don't know a whole lot about the Warhammer Titan and its powers. I feel like there's still some things that we don't know about as far as like what it can do and if there's like royal blood involved as well. If
Hmm.
there's something going on with that, because Zeke did mention say, or he did say that they had a Titan with royal blood and a Titan and the founding Titan now. So I feel like there's something behind that as well. I also just question like why did Zeke and Reiner and Berthold go over there in the first place? Like what I guess what changed in that time frame between like after the first attack on Paradis and then in Marley.
Can you rephrase that question? So you're saying that they obviously went back, but I thought it was actually like scouts, kind of like people like, not obviously Titans, but more little, like the little dudes going over to try to sniff things out, almost like Aaron did.
Mm, okay. Yeah,
Because
that's go ahead.
Go for it. Well,
No,
I was
you
gonna
do.
say it just doesn't the only Titan that they didn't see was Poke. But it also doesn't make much sense for them to kind of like re-infiltrate and stuff like that, especially since Paradis would be on high alert,
Yeah.
probably not let anybody in, and it would be a lot tougher to run the same gambit.
Mhm.
So I think that those guys were just kind of like scouts. And then in that quick clip that you were mentioning, we see the all right, so here's where we got it wrong, and I'm happy to say this because I was probably one of the bigger proponents of this. It wasn't Armin that kind of dropped the trapdoored Poke and Pike, but it was actually somebody that Pike was interested in, and this person, or she, was a huge Zeke supporter as well. So we know that that's when Zeke trying to like kind of pulls people over, and that also implies that Pike is lesbian, which is a respect to them because you know it's all about being diverse nowadays. Come on, son,
Sorry.
show some love out here. Love is love, homie.
Oh, yeah, I got you. No, I don't
Titan
know.
love, Titan love.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting that.
Well, you did, yeah. I wrote it down in the notes because I was like, bro, you gotta. Oh, okay. Well, number one too, it's like the person. I think her name is like Yolande. You're
Oh,
really good
you
with
got the
names,
name.
Chris. Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
didn't catch your name. So,
Uh
nice job.
Thanks, bro. So they kind of like chewed her out for letting them escape, even though she had nothing to do with it. It was just the shitty mustache, or the
Yeah.
beard. But the at this point, so I think if I was to kind of like flip it on its head, maybe the Warhammer Titan would be to crack open Annie's case. But the thing is, it's like I don't know why they would need to, because they do have. This is where it gets interesting for me, man. Essentially, what we have is the royal blood is Zeke himself, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a given because of the how it all started, and we know that from the memories of Grisha. The one thing that I'm super curious about is this is for LUD and freedom, which makes sense. And I'd be curious to see the population of Paradis and the population of the LUDians on Marley. And I wouldn't be surprised if Paradis had more, just because the LUDians on Marley are there to like kind of be um, bullet sponges. It's a war like country, you know, and things of that nature. And so maybe it's like, cost benefit analysis. There's more people over there.
Mhm.
Um, and it'll stop kind of the suffering of the LUDians over in Marley if you kind of have this state. And in a weird way, and tell me if I'm reaching, but it's shoot, man. I don't even want to say it, but it's it's
Do it.
almost like do it. It's almost like they're making their own like Israeli state in a sense,
Oh,
where they all
interesting.
like collect in one certain place and they have like a lot of power, and it almost will then magnetically and gravitationally pull other people over. And granted, this could be a definite reach. Z could also just be happy to destroy other countries and destroy Marley, and then kind of say, all right, so the freedom of LUDians is because we killed the people that enslaved us, instead of kind of like creating a safe space for them.
Mhm.
My question is like, does that mean that Aaron's going to get eaten, or can we do the same thing where, if Aaron's in contact with a royal blood person, can he now then use the Titan powers to their fullest extent? That's what
Mm.
I'm going to be curious to see. Or it could be something totally different. But there's obviously some questions that need to be answered. But I just find it insane, dude. And here's another question for you, Chris. Being that this was the cost of everything, and knowing what the outcome would have been before, like let's say that if Marley had Eren from the jump, or the founding Titan power from the jump, would they ever have? You know what, man? I think they would have attacked Paradis and they would have wiped him out. Now that I'm kind of like thinking through the problem, but my question was going to be, do you think that they would have, like, if Marley had Eren or the founding Titan power to begin with, do you think that they would have let Paradis alone? And now I think no, but I want to hear your idea of it.
Oh,
That
you
same
think
question.
no? Yeah, you think no. So you think they would come and wipe him out, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
okay. Yeah, I am in full agreement with that too. Just because you know how the whole Hellos thing and all that stuff, how it was kind of a big lie just to show that Marley was the, I guess, the savior of, or Hellos was
Mhm.
the savior for Marley and stuff like that. Just kind of going off that and knowing that I feel like they would have just wiped him out just because of, they just thought they were an island of devils, and that they're the ultimate enemy of Marley and the ultimate enemy of the world. And so, why not try and save the world while we have this amazing Titan power?
Yeah, I mean, it makes they have such disdain of those people in the first place.
Hmm.
Um, and, they dehumanize them, which is actually kind of like super, super interesting psychology for people being able to do horrific things to other people. I'm reading The Rape of Nanking right now, so I'm like super deep into that type of psychology.
Hmm.
In their case, it was the Japanese against the Chinese and the Koreans and the other Asians. But I think that, yeah, there's no way. And also they find them like dangerous. Like there is a fear of the Ludians. Like there's no way of getting around it. Even like, it's tied to their actual very fabric of the history, or the false history that they weave for people. And it's so I think they definitely would be attacked, but I guess it essentially means it's like, then the anticipation of this world war with these other countries attacking Paradis to get the ultimate weapon. I mean, who knows if it is the ultimate weapon? We've only seen one war outside of, you know, and one country was using modern technology, who couldn't have, who possibly wasn't even the strongest one. But it's like all of the other countries combined attacking Paradis. Was it worth it to kind of be held hostage by Aaron's crazy whims?
I mean, I would hope so. Uh, yeah, there's just a lot of, like you said, a lot of unanswered questions that need to be like that need to be answered. But yeah, dude, there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to ahead. One thing that I kind of want to theorize about. Do you think so now that Aaron has the Warhammer Titans powers, do you think that armor is impenetrable to those anti-Titan cannons that they have now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason I say that is because if it has to do with some form of crystallization, which the Warhammer, it seemed like, had that all over her body, you know, like we saw
Mhm.
her eyes through kind of like, slits in a sense. I mean, I can't imagine that. I mean, maybe there's something heavier than the regular anti-Titan cannons that they had there. Um, more heavy duty, maybe on a military ship or something. But I, yeah, I think maybe this is kind of a bold or stupid claim, but it just makes more sense to think that it would. But that's even to say that Aaron masters the Warhammer Titan power enough to, engulf his body in that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I don't think the cannons can penetrate that armor. But kind of like going along with what you said, I don't know if Aaron's gonna be able to figure that part out, I guess, figure that power out in time. Because they're like both Zeke and Aaron. Now that I think about it, are on that 13. Is it 13 years? The 13-year
Yeah, bro.
time frame.
Mhm.
So they're kind of running out of time as well. Now that there's just so many things that are coming across my mind right now, dude.
Yeah, bro. I think they have 1 year left.
Hmm.
Um, maybe Aaron is a little bit more because actually it's definitely a little bit more than Zeke. Just because we know of the fact of how the attack kind of sequentially went.
Hmm.
um, because Aaron wasn't a Titan before the first attack, and it was only after that he did become one. So yeah, he has very little time. They all do, but it's like then like Zeke's willing to get desperate almost, or like he's he's more fluid in the piece of his movement and like the things he's willing to do, knowing that he doesn't have much time left. Even though
Hmm.
he's thinking long term with the freedom of his people, he's still going to be kind of as long as they don't lose the Titan power of his, it's not like they can transfer the royal blood out, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. We haven't seen anything to where
Nah, man.
they have that
Yeah.
ability.
Yeah, so who knows, bro? Or maybe, dude, you know what also could be something interesting? We didn't get to see it in Marcel and Poke's versions, but this is the first time we're seeing like brother Titans. Even though they're half brothers, Zeke and Aaron are brothers, dude. Isn't that crazy to
Oh,
think?
yeah. I didn't think about that either. Dude, this episode has brought so many, like I said, so many other questions.
Yeah, man.
And now that Zeke is kind of this double, quadruple agent, whatever he is, there's just, I just feel like there's so much going on. And I have some serious trust issues with Zeke. Do you have any?
Really?
Yeah.
Um, well, dude, I'll tell you this much. It kind of, but at the same time, I feel like he has a lot to lose if he acts up. And
Yeah.
the
But
reason I
like,
say that, huh? We'll
uh,
go for it.
oh, I was just gonna say, but like he's double crossed his own parents to save his grandparents, and I
And
just
then
feel like
cross
he's
them
been
again.
yeah, and I just feel like he's just been this sketchy because like I'm all for the scouts, like I'm on the scout side 100%. So I don't know, I just feel like he's really sketchy. But what were you gonna say?
Well, yeah, I mean, to talk about that, he like backstabbed his parents, double agent right there. Then he also, I guess in a way, he's also like attacked the Ludians.
Hmm.
So he's like crossed his family, he's crossed his like race, um, and then
And
he
now he's
crossed
crossed the
his own
Marleyans.
country. Yeah. So it's like this dude's stepping all over boundaries. But um, I think that he does have a lot to lose, but it's not like he could go back to Marley. He was
Yeah.
dead, dude. He was dead. And they would start asking questions. And you know that because Pike even tied the person that imprisoned them to being an ardent Zeke person, right? So
Hmm.
somebody that would listen to whatever Zeke had to say. So it's like there's no way he's coming back. Pike already sniffed him out, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So he's
Pike's freaking brilliant, man.
yeah,
So
dude.
do you think Pike is for sure knows that Zeke might still be alive?
Um yeah, might for sure.
Mm.
And I think that it won't be surprising to her at all. And also, it's just a matter of time, right? Like once they start seeing the founding Titan powers like really turning up, then they will. You know what? Though I'm not sure if they know. This is something I thought of. I don't think that Marley knows about the royal bloodline increasing the Titan powers. And the
Mhm.
reason I say that is because the pure they were shocked that Zeke was like as talented as he was with the Beast Titan. Um and then we also have, and I'm not sure if Willie was kind of just being a liar, and I'm sure he was, but about how Eren could like summon the rumbling, which he cannot.
Mhm.
So they might not even know. Like they might be suspicious of Zeke, but even if the founding Titan powers were like executed to the fullest, they might not say, "Oh yeah, that's Zeke 100%."
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think they really know really anything at all about royal blood and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. So, but that doesn't fully like exculpate Zeke in this whole thing, but it kind of muddies the waters for them in a sense. But one question I wanted to ask, and um, it was mentioned at the very end, was as far as buying time for Paradis against Marley. Do you think what do you think Marley could do as far as a retaliation to this?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I was just kind of thinking, where does Marley go from here? Because all I have is the Cart Titan and the Jaw Titan. I think that's it.
I mean, armor
And
too, because they could still eat
oh
Reiner.
yeah, I forgot about Reiner. So yeah, they just have those three, and I feel like when you compare those three to the Beast Titan and Eren's Titans, they're not really any match. So it's
Dude,
kind of like, oh, go
and
ahead.
don't even forget about the god of destruction, Armin, like the
Yeah,
colossal titan too.
yeah. See, I even left out Armin. But yeah, I just feel like they. I don't know like where they're gonna go from here. Like, how do they regroup? What are they gonna do? The only thing that I can think of is that they're just gonna send every single country over to that island and try and destroy them. But I don't know exactly how that's gonna happen either because it's not like they have. Well, we haven't seen any type of like I don't know, like like
Yes.
yeah, or anything to kill Titans really.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like are the other countries going to be able to handle the amount of firepower that Paradis now has? And it's hard to
Mhm.
say because it's like you have to go all the way over to Paradis. The war that we saw was actually not on, it was kind of like brackish water. It was between two countries for
Mhm.
that peninsula. So there's, you know, it could be a different game when you have to like ship and transport you know, your guns over and your kind of like your best weapons to a
Yeah,
place that is going to be waiting for you and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. Because
it
they're
might.
already. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Well, no, I was probably going to say the same thing that you were going to say because they're going to be waiting for it. They're going to be ready for you to come and attack them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They're just at a super huge disadvantage. One being in ships and can kind of be seen from far away. That's just an assumption on my part, but so like they're going to be seen, and like you said, the Paradis is just going to be ready for them.
Yeah, man. And I'm excited for it. But anyway, we have another episode coming up, and I think it'll be another kind of slow burner. But from the preview that we saw, kind of some time jumps in history on that stuff. What do you expect us to be seeing this ninth episode of Attack on Titan on the other half of the hill
Dude,
on episode?
I'm actually super excited for this episode because, like you said, it does look like a kind of like a flashback episode. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really excited to see maybe how all the planning went into this attack on Marley.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm also excited to see kind of the interactions between Eren and the rest of the scouts and just how everything has been played out up to this point and see how relationships have either blossomed or gone the other way. Uh, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot to learn from this next episode from the scout side and from the planning side of things too. What about you?
I I don't think that there's much room to argue with exactly everything that you said right there. The It'll be flashback time, so exactly what we asked for a while ago as far as like the planning and prepping of this attack and how it came about. And of course, we're going to be seeing in the flashback I also saw or in the preview we also saw the bearing of Sasha, which will be, super sad but hopefully closure. And then also it'll be really cool to have flashback moments and then also to kind of see what the relationship is like in the present
Mm,
between Eren, the scouts, Paradis, and everything like that because there's so much that they have to work through
yeah,
now, everybody's together and there's obviously a huge elephant in the room of what just happened and like what did Eren just make us do in a sense.
yeah. I'm curious to see how Aaron's going to be received by the people of Paradis and like not the scouts perception, but everyone else's perception of Aaron. Like, what do they think about him, or like and stuff like that. And Historia, I forgot about her
Hmm.
too. I wonder like her thoughts on everything and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, another great one, man, and another one that you guys can stay tuned for next week. But anyway, Chris, once again, thank you so much, man, for being on this one. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse by saying thank you, but really, dude, you make such a huge difference in the recordings of these, and you're really sharp in the game with this stuff. So it's you make this thing exponentially better just you being on it. So thanks so
Oh,
much, man.
thanks, man. I feel like I say this every single time too, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's really a huge pleasure of mine to do this with you.
Man, well, I'm glad the feeling's mutual. And, another person or another, I guess, people I want to thank is every one of you guys that are listening right now. It's been kind of a longer one, as we've had kind of with these richer information ones. But uh, also, a quick note that you guys can find this stuff on YouTube now too. I'm going through the back catalog of all the ones that we've been doing. So patience on those if you're, anticipating that, but it'll be on Aboutcast YouTube, and you'll find it in the description of this episode of this podcast as well. But once again, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Attack on Titan and this review, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you.